It's good to be with all of you across Wisconsin. It's a special honor to be with you because I got my start in the education journey in Wisconsin. So thank all of you who are working in the school day, in after school and summers, because your earlier colleagues really provided me with a background and a great start for my life and career. Part of that great start not only included a really good school day and university experience, but also a lot of opportunities after school and summers. And I really valued those and think back about how important they were. Now, here we are today, and through a great deal of new federal funding and other funding, there's a potential for many more students in Wisconsin to have access to more quality after school and summer programs. And that's what this session is about. And I want to share with you the powerful new evidence base we have for these opportunities and partnerships in Wisconsin. Next slide, please. What we find is that there's growing reference in all kinds of federal funding and legislation that says that programs that are using these federal funds and other funds too need to be evidence-based. So I want to share with you, using my research background and the positions I've been lucky to have at the federal and state level, to share what that means and can mean to those of you working at the local school level or in community-based organizations. A lot of this guidance came out of the reference shown at the bottom, guidance for use of investments. It's a federal guidance document. Next slide, please. The first part of evidence that's needed, if you're doing an evidence-based approach to investing funding, is to document the need. And there was a great study done of parents in Wisconsin in 2020 that found that 88% of parents feel that young people deserve access to quality after school and summer programs. That's a very high percentage. Despite that, there are many children and youth in Wisconsin waiting to get into programs. They're either not accessible, there isn't transportation, they're too costly, whatever. In 2020, there were 173,000 young people waiting to get into summer programs and 268,000 waiting to get into after-school programs. Next slide, please. That was right before COVID hit. We know from all the COVID disruptions that a whole set of other needs, lost learning time, lost connections happened during the last few months and years, really. There's a lot of studies that show there's a great deal of reading loss that occurred, particularly among low-income students. But the math loss is actually greater in most of the studies. But for many students, not being able to be involved in art and music experiences in the school day, after school or summers, really cuts into their motivation. And really, we are still in a creative economy, and those skills are also valued, as are STEM and STEAM skills. And many of those opportunities were cut back, eliminated in school and after school during the last couple of years. And many jobs really depend on them. And finally, the pathways to college and career, some of those were cut shorter, narrowed up, and there are more mental health needs. So after school and summers, well done. Obviously, we always need a good school day, but after school and summer opportunities and partnerships can really help address these learning losses also, and that's a very documented need. Next slide, please. So your leadership always has been important, but it's even more important now to work together, school folks with community groups with school folks, to really find ways to expand and improve after school and summer opportunities to help kids catch up and keep up. There's a brand new report out that I'll cover in just a minute that can help suggest how to invest the new American Rescue Plan funds. There's provisions in what's nicknamed ESSER 3 that those funds are supposed to specifically be used for learning loss and recovery. In Wisconsin, this amounts to, at the local level, at least $277 million over 3 years. This is a 20% set aside of ESSER funds going to local districts. And it says at least 20% should be spent on that. And the 277 million is just 20%. There's another 100 million almost set aside at the state level for learning and recovery. So this new research I'm about to cover can really help you think of ways to invest in better opportunities and then make those opportunities well-designed and delivered. Next slide, please. The study is called the Evidence Base for Summer Enrichment and Comprehensive After-School Opportunities. And this study was done by a great colleague of mine, Deborah Lowe Vandell, from the University of California, Irvine. She spent many years on the University of Wisconsin faculty, and she and I teamed up and reviewed hundreds of studies and came up with this report, and I'd like to share some highlights from that report that are relevant to you in schools and community groups across the state. Next slide, please. The first review found this study. It's called a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis, big word, but it's worth remembering it, is a study of studies. This is a study of 69 studies, not 69 programs, but 69 studies. And they found that 40 of the programs were well-designed and organized. And for those programs, what you see here are the average percentile gains for students participating in those programs. And these are very meaningful and significant, from improved attendance to better social behavior, to better school grades and better test scores. There aren't a lot of interventions that have a meta-analysis, and that's one of them. A second important way to look at research and evidence before you invest ARP money or any monies, local money, state monies, is to look at longitudinal studies. This is a study, if you go from the left, that's low participation in after-school programs across K through 5. The far right are students who participate a lot in K through 12 in after-school programs. And what you see is that the low-income students who participate the most made the biggest gains, but also middle-income students made gains, and high-income students also. They all progress, but the students who needed the help the most to make the most progress the most. Next, I want to share some findings from summer learning. A committee from the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine found that well-designed summer programs also can help put young people on a positive pathway, including in those 4 areas mentioned. Again, this study, or study of studies, was done before COVID. They couldn't be more meaningful than right now. Next slide, please. In addition to that review of studies, right about the same time, a large-scale study was taking place across America called Every Summer Counts. And what they found is really the summary here is that the more students participated during the summer in the program, at least 20 days, and the more they participated in more than one summer program, the greater the gains. And students who participated in regularly in more than one summer, there was statistically important gains in reading, math, and social emotional development. So yes, we have very important findings now in after school and summers that well-designed, well-delivered, they make a positive difference in a whole set of important student attributes. And this is critical as you're thinking of ways to invest the ARP money and other monies. There are a lot of vendors out there. I've been in education a long time, as you can see by my gray hair. I've heard thousands of pitches about how fabulous their curriculum and technology and books are. A lot of them don't have much evidence. So before you use ARP funds or other funds in these hot new ideas, ask them, show us where you meet a local need. Show us your meta-analysis. Show us your longitudinal studies. If they can't do that, then you might really think about whether you want to invest in that and maybe want to even put more money into expanding after school and summer enrichment, as well as other opportunities. Next slide, please. So it's important to have the evidence that overall after school and summers well-designed make a positive difference. But now you have to think about, what does your programs, what are your opportunities, what do your partnerships look like in your schools and your communities? Here we also have a great resource for summers. This was a study done by the RAND Corporation. They identified 43 summer programs that have particular backed up by research. Your programs don't have to be exactly like them, but you should really look at some of these programs that they found effective to see how you might learn from them and perhaps change some aspect of your improvement program or add particular components. Also, another way to improve what you're doing based on research is to look at the award winners from the National Summer Learning Association. Every year they give 5 to 6 awards, and to get an award, you have to have evidence. They have like 10 years worth of programming. If you look on their website and you see programs similar to ones that you're proposing or want to expand or improve, compare what they're doing and then add that or subtract whatever you might not be quite doing right to match them so you get a better impact. Next slide, please. The same process can be used for after-school programs. The Wallace Foundation identified 62 after-school programs that meet research requirements. Some may not be in the area that you're speaking of. You might have an elementary program. Maybe the program you're looking at is a middle school that may not fit, but they have probably some programs in their list that's similar to yours. Look at them, study them, take advantage of their learnings. The same thing as the National Summer Learning Association. There's a list of successful middle programs in the After School Alliance website, and you can do that comparison as well. Next slide, please. Now, if that approach doesn't meet your needs, there's another way to improve your programs, and that is to take a deep dive into what are the components or principles or framework of successful programs. I mentioned Dr. Deborah Vandell before. She is one of the preeminent researchers and educators in early education and after school and summers. And let me look in the next 2 slides what she would recommend you make sure your programs include. She would say for sure you should have these 4 markers of high quality programs: active hands-on activities, opportunities for student autonomy and choice, student engagement and enjoyment, and positive social relationships. Now, that doesn't mean your programs, and here's another list of 5, and I want to mention these 5 in a second. It doesn't mean your programs shouldn't deal with helping kids improve their reading, math, science skills, art skills, social studies skills, civic skills, or technical skills. You can address those in summer and after school programs, but you're not going to get the positive results you want unless the learning is active, the learning is collaborative, the learning is meaningful, the learning supports mastery, and learning expands horizons. So that really gives you, in a nutshell, how you can use evidence-based to both invest your ARP money, but also make it quality. I want to mention a couple things that we're picking up around the country as I work in a lot of different states and communities about some concerns about ARP funds. First one is funding cliff. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, and you probably know, the ARP money runs out in 2.5, 3 years. Keeping in mind that the ARP money does run out in 2.5, 3 years, don't stop thinking about what you can do because of that cliff. Just do the opposite. Invest that money in quality summer and after school programs, because you can get a benefit right now by children having these new opportunities, new enrichment, new experiences that they will last for a lifetime. But also, when you're designing and implementing those programs, you can do them in a way that the results will also last in a different way. For example, strengthen the capacity of the folks working in the program and help them learn how to blend and braid funding from other sources. That'll last way into the future. Use the funds to develop engaging curriculum and materials, as well as offering programming to young people. Those materials can last for years. The professional development for your community organization staff and teachers and paraprofessionals are very important, and those skills will last way beyond the funding. And a fourth idea that I wish you might really think about, if you're near a community or four-year college or university, think of a way you can develop a long-term plan to use their undergraduate students or first-year students or second-year students in your after-school and summer programs. Use some of the money to prepare them in courses, but then also pay them and provide credit for them as they work in your programs, thus creating a pipeline of future 2- and 4-year graduates that can work in your schools and or after-school programs. Here you are, Peterson, saying that we offer more summer and after-school programs. Yes, we should offer many more after-school and summer programs in your communities. You can get more hands and hearts by thinking about people in your community, organizations in your community that can teach with your teachers and paraprofessionals. Think of the arts and STEM groups. In smaller communities where you may not have an actual organization, I'd be willing to bet there are individual artists, scientists, health professionals working in your community that you could get some of their time, an hour or two a day, maybe a couple hours in the summer, that can help staff and prepare your students to have these skills. And obviously the Ys, 4-H are critical. Park and recreation often are kind of off doing their own thing, but they could be brought in to help in your programs, and your students can be involved in their programs. Again, making new connections. Employers can play a key role. And again, students and faculty in nearby colleges. Think of not just 1 or 2 students, but maybe getting a cohort of students working in your programs and building their skills. And finally, I know having grown up in Wisconsin and visited there many times, including in my work in education, there are many rural communities, many rural areas, many small towns where you may not have any of these organizations. I'm sure you have some of the individuals I'm talking about. They might not be known as well, but also you do have high school students. And often I've seen where high school students with some encouragement and preparation can be a great set of folks helping be mentors, tutors that can help them do experiments, that can do service learning in the community. They can help with tutoring and reading and math, science. So think about how you can use your high school students as well. And in the summer, it might even be a good source of employment for them. So let me close by, again, ending where I started up, by thanking each of you for what you have done and are doing, both in schools and communities. I'm a great beneficiary of all your previous work and your colleagues before you. And I know how important this collaboration is among educators, among people working in the community, after school and summer providers. It's so important, not only because we have money now, and I hope you really invested in some serious expansion of after school and summer programs across Wisconsin, but also in building these partnerships. Young people and families pick up on the fact when lots of trusted folks in the community are working together and are there to help them, and they see that help and also are reluctant to then ask for help when they need it. So again, thank you for what you are doing, and I look forward to seeing the great results from the use of the ARP and other funds in Wisconsin. Good to be with you. Thanks again.